Hello, lovely humans, and welcome back. I figured I'd give you guys a break from my usual look of troll who guards the bridge and throw on some big lashes just for you. Now, most of you guys know by now that your girl is a sugar addict through and through. And lately, the struggle has been real. It's right around Christmas time. Y'all know how it goes. Everybody and their mother has sugar coming out of their ears. And it's no different for me.
On days where my sugar addiction is at its peak, like this entire week or month, let's be honest, yay holidays, I eat things like this. And I know this brownie isn't all that great, yet somehow I can't stop eating till it's gone. Sugar addiction is real, and it sucks, and it makes weight loss a whole lot harder. And literally, even as I'm filming about it, and I'm like, no, I don't need this. It's there, and I'm like fighting myself not to eat it. This is rough.
And most of you probably know that when you are a sugar addict, you're trying to overhaul an entire lifetime of bad eating habits. It takes a long time, for most people at least, to figure out what habits work for you so that you can actually make weight loss sustainable. Because fad diets are trash. And because of this, for most of us, our weight loss journeys don't end up looking like a straight decline of weight loss. Instead, it looks a little more like this, and hopefully as a whole starts going down. Lately, I've been on one of the downward cycles. I had been doing really well, and then something shifted, and it was like all I wanted to do was eat sugar 24/7, like it was my life. The struggle's real. But sometimes you've got to get mad enough at yourself to decide that you actually want to change, and that's the first step.
I'm officially sick of my own crap. This is ridiculous. I did not spend a year in therapy just to be basically eating garbage for the sake of eating garbage. So I'm gonna use some of those therapy skills to start with one small change. When you realize you're being ridiculous, stop. You might have only stopped halfway through the brownie, but that's better than stopping with an empty plate.
So over the last week, I basically tried to come up with a game plan for what to do to get back on track. Because I know a lot of people, when they're showing their weight loss journeys, they just show you super easy, super fast progress, everything's perfect, and suddenly you are slender and buff. Or, whatever your goals are. But that's not reality. In reality, like I said, that little wavy line, you can't forget the bottom parts where everything seems really hard and like you're never gonna get it and it's frustrating. And that's part of the journey. And I wanna be transparent with you guys. So since I'm in kind of struggle bus mode right now, I wanna show y'all what I'm doing to dig my way out of the Hot Mess Express. So come with me.
Metaphorically, not to a different location.
The first thing that I'm doing to get back on track is making this video. I realize that if you guys are struggling right now, you might not necessarily want to put your journey on YouTube, and that's okay. For me, making these videos is a way of holding myself accountable. My goal is to get healthy, make it sustainable, and then share everything that I have learned with you guys so you can do the same. And that means that when I'm struggling, I'm letting you guys know too, so you know that you're not alone. And that's something you guys can do as well. Have someone who can hold you accountable. Someone you can go to, if at all possible, to say, hey, I'm struggling. Can I maybe talk it out with you and figure out why it is I'm struggling and how to get back on track? For me, another way to hold myself accountable is by continuing to go to therapy. I started therapy over a year ago to kind of help figure out what it was that was causing me to consistently gain weight and never really be able to either consistently lose weight or keep it off. It has literally changed the way that I think about food. And no, it doesn't make everything perfect, but it gives me a lot of the tools that I need to at least have something that I'm armed with to fight this freaking sugar addiction that has such a strong hold on me. I have talked a lot in my previous videos about what I've learned from therapy. I'll link 2 of them down below just in case that's something you guys are interested in. One of the tools that I actually got from therapy was wearing my little anxiety fidget spinner rings. Those have made a huge difference for me when I'm feeling anxious and wanting to eat everything in sight. I keep spinning those. And for a while there, I got kind of lazy about putting them on. So this week I'm making sure to start out by being proactive, having my rings on and using them anytime I feel the need to just go bananas and eat every bit of sugar in sight. I'm also trying to focus on what I'm putting in my body rather than what I'm having to restrict from. So obviously I don't need to eat an entire cake, but rather than focusing on that aspect, I want to focus on the things that I feel like I have more more control over. For me, that means making sure that I'm having fruits and veggies every day because those are also a necessary part of a healthy, sustainable diet. And for a while, I had been keeping track of it on my calendar with a little F and a V every time I was having a fruit and veggie, just to kind of like clue myself in like, oh, dummy, make sure you have those. Well, not dummy, be nice to yourself. So, okay, we're back on track. We're doing our fruits and veggies every day. That's what I'm adding in rather than only focusing on what I need to take out. Another thing that I learned about in therapy is self-talk. And sometimes that means literally reminding yourself of the happier things. Like instead of beating myself up if I made like not the greatest food choice, instead I'm like, okay, I didn't do that great with that one choice, but I still have other meals today that I can make great choices with. Part of that means that when I'm spinning those anxiety rings because I'm feeling anxious and wanting dessert, I say to myself, hey, I have already had sugar today. This is just an impulse. It's not something I actually want. I don't need to go have that sugar. Basically, anything that really gets the change in mindset through to your brain, sometimes you have to verbally repeat that. And I'm trying to get back on track with doing that because same thing. I went on vacation and kind of just stopped doing it. Oops.
For the next thing on the agenda of what I'm doing to like get my life together and get the sugar addiction in control, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my faith. If that is not up your alley, totally understand. I'm not one for like beating people over the head with Jesus. Down to talk about him if you are, absolutely. But if that's not your scene, I'm gonna put a little time down below for you to skip to. For the rest of you guys, I'm basically just gonna say that lately, and by lately, I mean pretty much the entire time that I've been working on undergrad and grad school, I really have not done a great job of cannot get the hanger off of that, of focusing in any capacity on my faith. And I genuinely believe that if you are not taking time to put your faith and your spirituality, sorry, boobs, if you are not taking the time to basically make God or whatever you believe in any sort of priority in your life, everything kind of goes to crap, and it's for a reason. For me personally, I feel like it's his way of reminding me that like, hey, you're supposed to be putting me first. That's how you are like most mentally and spiritually healthy. And when you don't, everything goes to crap. It's kind of like extra incentive to turn back. I don't know. That's maybe just my own personal logic on it. So basically having Jesus on the back burner isn't doing me any favors at all.
So what I want to start doing basically is anytime I go for a walk, which is a lot because that's kind of honestly my favorite type of exercise, what I want to start doing is instead of just listening to my like Amazon playlist or whatever, what I want to start doing is playing a sermon on my phone every time I go for a walk. And that way I feel like I can kind of start the day off right. Like if I'm in the right headspace because I'm actually like listening to a sermon, thinking about faith, I feel like that puts me in the right headspace for the day where I can make better decisions, but also just feel a little bit more balanced. You know, like we all need balance in some capacity. So let's go for this walk once I get my hair in a ponytail.
I look ridiculous, but it is like 38 degrees outside and I don't want to be cold. Hello there. It is freezing outside, but also I'm sweating. It's a weird combo. I gotta say, okay, I'm being strangled by my scarf. I gotta say, I'm really, really glad that I decided to go on that walk and listen to a sermon. I actually felt like it was really relevant to two of the things that I've been struggling with the most, and that is basically like the sugar addiction with weight loss and physical therapy school, because honestly, I'm really burned out and I've been struggling a lot to have even remotely a good attitude with it. That sermon really, really was like super relevant to how I've been feeling with it, and I was like, oh, that was actually what I needed to hear, and now I'm feeling a lot more mentally balanced and very grateful. So, yay. If you guys are struggling with putting your faith first and just kind of needed a reminder that there's a reason he wants us to make him a priority, here's your reminder, so go do that. One thing that I am also doing is trying to be way more proactive with my workouts. Frankly, I need the endorphins. Those obviously help for mental health as a whole, but for those of you wondering, like,
what the heck does that have to do with sugar addiction?
allow me to elaborate. It gets me out of bed and forces me to start the day. The longer I just chill in bed, the more likely my mental state is to just be crap and I stay there forever. And then all I end up doing all day is binge watching YouTube, although I do enjoy it. But I binge watch YouTube and then end up eating a ton. So it kind of gets me in the right headspace. It helps with the routine to know, okay, you need to get up. Just because you're on vacation does not mean you don't have things to do. And it makes me feel a lot more powerful because I'm in there, I'm lifting weights, and I'm like, oh, I can do hard things, including dealing with the sugar addiction. I think the biggest reason though is when I put the effort in to working out and going kind of hard in the gym, it makes me less likely to binge on sugar later because I know that I'm just destroying all of my hard work. The reason I got out of bed in the morning becomes completely nullified if I basically go home and just go bananas or, go fudge on whatever's over there. I also want to be very, very clear that if you are trying to lose weight, diet is way more important than exercise. In terms of calories in and calories out, you're going to be a lot better at that if you just focus on the diet part.
At some point, I also had to come to terms with the fact that my sugar snacking had got kind of out of control. And rather than just getting really, really angry, like,
oh my God, I'm having like 3 or 4 desserts a day. I just need to cut all that crap out and never have it again.
because I know myself, I will binge if I try to restrict, I instead try to focus on making small changes. So when I started this journey, I was having like minimum 4 desserts, and I mean like pastry size desserts every single day and just going hog wild. So what I started doing is switching down to just 3 desserts a day because it was a small change. And when it's small, it's achievable rather than trying to do a complete 180 and just magically be like that girl that does everything right. Because that doesn't work for anybody, let's be honest. So I went back to what I started with. It might sound a little bit nuts because it still is a lot, but my goal right now is to cut back to making sure that I'm not having more than 1 dessert with each meal. And I plan on basically getting used to that for a few days and then knocking it down again. But when I let myself go bit by bit, it helps me to get back on track rather than just struggling hard because I restricted too much. When an impulse hits, I completely forget everything that I've been working with. And that's part of the problem. Like,
what is self-talk? What are those rings? I don't need that. I want that donut.
Not a good idea. And so what I want to do is give myself reminders everywhere. Not reminders like,
Don't eat that, you fat slob.
but instead reminders like, hey, you only get one body, treat it with love. I want to remind myself of happy little things all over the house and in my car, because that's always when I get triggered and want to go through a drive-through. I want to remind myself that life is worth living, and that's why I'm doing this in the first place, is to live a healthy, long life. The next one is very kind of obvious. You've probably heard it everywhere, and that is making sure that stress and sleep are under control. Those are my 2 biggest issues, especially because of grad school. It makes me crazy, but I'm on vacation right now. I can't graduate for at least another 5 months, and so I've got to find some way to deal with it. So I'm making sure that any chance I get, I am making the right decisions to control my stress when possible and get my butt to bed on time. Because when your body is so stressed out, your impulse control goes way down. So if you can get sleep and control your stress, do what you can. I'm also making sure to create a routine. Part of dealing with your sugar addiction or just dealing with that period of your diet where you're like,
Oh my God, why am I not able to get it together right now?
part of that is finding out what it is that is making you struggle on that like downward slope. And for me, I realized that I'm on vacation right now, which is great. But when you go from going 24/7, being so exhausted you can't see straight, to having literally nothing that you have to do, it'll screw with your mental state like pretty nasty. I realized that because I've had such a high-paced lifestyle for so long, I actually don't know how to relax like a normal human being. I basically crashed, got super depressed, and all I wanted to do was eat, which is completely ridiculous given that I was on vacation and had all the time in the world to do all of the things that I wanted to do. So what I started doing, just to kind of work with that, is I started giving myself a routine, just so I had a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So I had a reason to get off the couch and not just watch YouTube all day. Although, please feel free to continue watching my videos and, subscribe and all that. But I wanted to give myself something to do. And so I started making a routine every day. Like, hey, these are the things that I need to get done. I'm gonna make sure I get up at this time to go to the gym and start my day off right. Just little things, but things that got me moving. And if you don't have a regular routine, I would highly recommend seeing what you can do just to give yourself some structure. Give yourself a reason to get up in the morning and make good decisions. The last thing that I'm doing, just to kind of try to get myself in check, is to start keeping track of everything I eat in a food diary. I don't normally do this because I feel like I get too fixated on it and it ends up being unhealthy. But anytime I get like really off track with what I have been eating, I try to check myself in that way, because sometimes I need to actually be able to look at that piece of paper and be like, holy crap, I've had like 57 desserts this week. That might be a bit much. Maybe I should scale it back. It doesn't let me just put it on the back burner and kind of brush it away like, oh, it's okay, I just had one dessert here, just one dessert here. It adds up. I realize that being a sugar addict is a beast and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but hopefully something I've said in this video maybe gave you an idea or made you feel at least a little better about yourself. Hello there. I was wondering when she'd make an appearance. Just because you struggle with something doesn't make you less of a person. It's okay to have these kind of like downhill cruddy portions of weight loss. Just make sure that you're not like wallowing in it and just like,
Oh, I suck as a person. I can't do anything right. Screw this. I might as well eat everything in sight.
don't do that. Take it slow, break it down, figure out what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how you can fix it. You can absolutely do it. As most of you guys know on this channel, we talk about anything and everything health and happiness, and hopefully it provides you guys with some joy, some felines, and some ideas for how to live life just a little bit healthier. So if you liked this video, you know what to do. That button down below, the subscribe, that's the one. It does help the channel out and it helps us to grow a community here. So do that, and I will see you lovely humans some Friday in the very near future. Bye bye.